Welcome to episode 99 of Self-Made. Wow, we're finally one away from the big one. And if you've been keeping up with me on the socials, you'll know that I've locked in my very special guest for that 100th episode, and that is Mel Emery. So if you've been a long-time listener, you'll know that I've referenced Mel Emery a lot. He is my very first mentor in this whole business journey. He's a legend in the world of business and marketing. He's built and sold over 40 businesses. He's spoken on stage with the likes of Donald Trump, Robert Kiyosaki, Tony Robbins, Richard Branson, Mark Boris, all of these crazy heavy hitters in the world of business and marketing and influence. And I have the pleasure of being able to sit down with him for a few hours to chat and talk about his experience, his story, anecdotes, business principles, and all that stuff, because he has a mountain of knowledge and wisdom that he can impart with all of us. And I'm still to this day learning stuff from him, even though I'm not really in direct contact with him anymore and, direct vicinity of him and learning from him. Because back when I was about 17, I was able to go to his business mastermind sessions that he was running in Perth at the time. And that's where I actually came up with the idea for my business. And we're going to talk about that in that episode. So very, very special episode. I'm very excited. He is the person that I had in mind for my 100th episode whenever I got to it. I'm very excited. I'm very pumped for this. It's going to be great. And what we want to do is, and I've talked about this with him, we're going to do a Q&A at the very end of the episode. So I wanted to just get this out of the way right now in this episode. If you have any questions, like if you're listening to this in this present moment, if episode 100 hasn't already aired, if you have any questions that you'd like Mel Emery to answer, I suggest you get them in, because if you don't know Mel, like a lot of people listening to this probably won't know him. He is genuinely a legend in business and marketing. Before he retired, he was charging $10,000 an hour for business consulting, and he had a lot of people on his waiting list. So he is a very, very hard person to get a hold of, and a very valuable person to get the right answers from if you have questions about business. So get some questions in, send them through to my Instagram DM, or look at my Instagram story and go on the Q&A thing there and submit your questions. We're going to answer as many as possible. We'll probably answer all of them. I already put a story up and I've barely gotten any questions. I don't know if it's this psychological thing of people are like, oh, I bet there's already too many questions in there. They probably won't even see mine. No, we're not getting any questions really. So submit questions. It's a bit crazy that I have all these followers and listeners, and then I put that out and I get no questions. But anyway, go submit your questions. It's a really special opportunity. It's going to be really good for me. It's going to be really good for you to listen to this, and there's going to be a lot of takeaways from that episode. I may even have to break it into a couple of episodes. It's going to be overwhelming, the amount of knowledge that we're going to get dumped on us. So yeah, very cool. Very special and important person in my life. He was one of my first introductions to this world of business, and he's actually dubbed the Millionaire Maker. So he's actually been called the Millionaire Maker in Australia, and I was one of his last students, one of his last coaching clients, essentially. And I, as history tells it, also became a millionaire as well. So it was quite poetic that one of his last coaching clients was able to carry on that legacy as well. And yeah, it's going to be a really fun episode. Really looking forward to it. We're going to sit down in a studio, film that properly, and it's going to be great. So get your questions in. If you're listening to this in the future, too bad, too sad. But hey, you get to listen to that episode right after this one if you want, if you're in the future. So that's great. But anyway, the topic for this episode today is going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be about a specific type of business principle or strategy. I'm actually going to be talking about the people that we surround ourselves with in our daily lives. Okay, because people say you're the sum total or the sum average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and those classic sayings like "show me your friends and I'll show you your future," all that kind of jazz. And it goes so much deeper than that. Like your circle, it decides your standards, and your standards decide your behavior, and your behavior decides and shapes your future. It's like, think about nature. I like to think about nature in so many different contexts. If you look at nature in, if you look at the desert, you look at the Sahara Desert, the plant life that grows in the Sahara Desert, it grows to adapt to its environment. If you took the same plants and the same vegetation that's in the Sahara Desert and you dropped it in the middle of Antarctica or in the Amazon rainforest, they probably wouldn't survive. And vice versa, if you put things that grow in the Amazon rainforest and you put them in the desert, they will wilt and die because they are products of their environment and they adapt to the environments they're in. And much like nature, we have human nature. And we are very much the same. We become products of the environments that we're in. We become similar or akin to the people that we surround ourselves with on a daily basis. And it's very, very important. It's one of the challenges of any business owner, particularly when you start to experience success, is that you tend to outgrow a lot of the relationships around you, whether it be friends and family. And that's not to say that you have to completely cut people off, but you need to adjust expectations and adjust dynamics to fit that, because it can actually become really unhealthy and hinder you in a lot of different ways. Like the conversations or the friends that I've had from years and years ago before I set out on this journey, it's like we live in two different worlds now, and it's hard for us to really click and get along. And I try to limit the time I spend around certain types of people because I know I get dragged into this cycle that's hard to get out of, especially that indulgent lifestyle of partying and just a lot of social events and a lot of this and that can really derail your momentum and your motivation and your discipline when it comes to business. And I really did struggle with that, like the indulgent lifestyle, especially as I was starting to get a little bit of success. It was all new to me. I was making money. I had this sort of notoriety in the business space and, on TikTok and Instagram, and it opened up a lot of doors for me. But I wasn't very good at discerning which doors I should be going through. And I ended up in a lot of places that I probably shouldn't have been putting myself into. I was going to parties a lot more. I was surrounding myself with the wrong types of people, and it was really derailing my progress. I was starting to stagnate. I was really stalling on my momentum. And eventually I looked back and I was like, oh my God, I just lost like an entire year. Like, what have I done this year? And I really just had to check myself and decide what I wanted to really be and what I really wanted out of the months ahead and the years ahead. And it had to start with the environment that I was putting myself in. I had to take myself out of that environment and put myself in new environments that are going to empower me and uplift me and encourage me to adopt better habits and better behaviors and better attitudes so that I could perform at the highest level in business, but also at the highest level in my day-to-day life. And looking back, because hindsight's 2020, the standards that I had, the low standard people that I was surrounding myself with, they normalize things like excuses, and then so do you eventually. And the discipline, like ambitious people stick to routines and you rise to match them. Whereas if you're around unambitious people all the time, people that lack that ambition and that drive and that discipline, you're going to match their energy as well. And it creates this weird disparity if you're on different levels, and it creates weird dynamics and awkwardness in friendships and even in like families as well. And it just becomes this odd dichotomy that's really hard to adapt to. And ideally, you want to have people around you that embrace change for you and uplift you and motivate you as well. But I don't know if it's this Australian culture, like we know about this tall poppy syndrome. If you start doing better, if you start to go on a streak and you really change your life for the better and people are seeing you win and do well, a lot of people get jealous and a lot of people get envious. Now, there's a difference between jealousy and envy. Jealousy is much worse than envy. If you envy someone, it's like you just want to be that person. You want to have that success, right? You look at it and you might admire it. You envy it. Jealousy is like, I don't want that person to succeed. There are a lot of jealous people around, and they will silently drag you down. And you continue to adopt and mimic the behaviors and the characteristics and the mindsets of the people around you. And same thing about money. Like if your income, it grows or shrinks to match the kind of group of people you're around. When I started putting myself in more rooms of high-level business owners and I was networking with more successful people, I inadvertently set myself on a path for more success and higher income and more prosperity. And even problem solving, like higher quality thinkers are going to help you see solutions differently, as opposed to people that are just going to give you excuses and they're not really going to help you when it comes to tackling life's issues and businesses' challenges. And before you know it, you get dragged into this hypnotic rhythm of this negative cycle that you can't drag yourself out of. And I read a book called Outwitting the Devil, which is a great book. It talks about this hypnotic rhythm that we develop, and we subconsciously set ourselves up to become drifters as opposed to people that have like a definitive purpose in life and in business. We get influenced by the people around us, and they plant these seeds in our mind that slowly eat away at us, and they change our habits and they change our discipline and our mindset until the point where we get into this hypnotic rhythm state, which is where it just becomes second nature to us. And that hypnotic rhythm, it can go either way. If you surround yourself with better people that encourage better habits and better thinking, better mindset, and better capabilities, we develop a hypnotic rhythm in a more positive sense. So like all of this year, I've had a lot of growth just in my personal life. Business obviously has been great, but me personally, I feel like I'm on top of the world. I feel like I feel like a rejuvenated self. Like even just down to little habits every day. Every day I wake up, I get out of bed straight away with a spring in my step, and I make my bed. And then I go to the kitchen where all of my dishes were done the night before because I wasn't procrastinating, I wasn't lazy, and I make myself the same breakfast. And as soon as I'm done with that, I wash the dishes, I have a routine, I have habits, I have so much more structure in my life, I have less stress, I'm getting more done, I'm way more productive, and all of my numbers in business are reflecting this new kind of self, this new identity that I have for myself. Like I don't really talk about it because it's not exactly something that's a good look or makes me seem like a very good business person or leader or figure of authority. But like before, I was genuinely lazy. Like I was running a good business. I was making good money. I was achieving good things, but I was lazy. I would get out of bed. I wouldn't make my bed ever. The only time my bed would get made is if my cleaners came and made it for me. Dishes would stack up in the sink for days at a time. I would procrastinate on business things, and I was just in these negative cycles that I couldn't break myself out of, and I had no motivation. I felt depressed and sluggish and just really lethargic, and I physically had no energy, and mentally I was just exhausted and had so much brain fog. And it was because I was in this hypnotic negative rhythm. And it's not until I really changed my environment and also thought about what I really wanted and reverse engineered that, and then started to put myself in situations where I was more likely to attain the outcome that I was hoping for. So in business, I set myself some real clear expectations and goals, and mindset adjustments and reframing of my attitude. And I was like, I got to put myself in more rooms with people that are going to share this energy and this discipline and this drive with me. So a lot of what I've been doing this year is putting myself in more networking events. We've gone to a lot of awards things. We've gone to Chamber of Commerce meetups. I've enrolled in Success School recently. I've done all these things. I've met lots of really great people, and you know that feeling you get when you meet someone really cool and just full of energy and life and ambition, and you walk away feeling that too. Like it's a contagious energy. The same thing is felt when you're around people that drain your energy, except you don't walk away from that like, oh, that person drained my energy. You just walk away from that, not really thinking much of it, but then it starts to, creep into your day-to-day life. So that's a big shift I made this year for myself, is I just started to change my environment. And when I changed my environment, my habits changed and my attitude changed and my mindset changed. And I made a lot better friends for myself, friends that are also in business that share the same values and the same goals and ambition and mission and all these things as me. And it's made me a better person. Now, that's not to say that I've cut off everyone from before. It just means that I have a very healthy balance and more of an imbalance in favor of things that are going to positively reinforce me and the values that I have and the things I want to achieve for myself and in my business. You shouldn't have to feel like you're restricted to a certain friend group just because you've known them your whole life. You don't have to pledge any sort of allegiance to that just because it is what it is, and that's how it's always been. Like, we are designed as humans to evolve and grow, and you have to do that when you're in business. Sometimes you're going to have to cut people off. Sometimes you're going to have some tough conversations. You might have to go back home for Christmas and talk to family members that are stuck in the same rut and giving you the same bad advice and making excuses for you and telling you that you should just give up on your business dream and journey because it's too hard and things are too risky and the economic state of things is like too bad and all these things, and you may just have to have a conversation and readjust their expectations of who you are now. Like have that talk with them and just be like, look, I am not the person that I was last year or 5 years ago. Like, I am on this mission. I value these things. I want to do these things, and I can't achieve these things when I have people around me that are dragging me down. You can have that conversation in a way that's not very confronting and blunt, but I'm just saying you don't have to cut people off. That's my point here. It's incredibly important that you really have a think about this and look at this from outside of yourself, and just have a really good hard think about the people you're surrounding yourself with, the places you're going, and the people you're going with, and what that's feeding your subconscious mind. And is that putting you into this hypnotic rhythm of this negative feedback loop, or is it a positive reinforcement loop? Is it like a virtuous cycle or a vicious cycle? Because I know for a fact I was in a very vicious cycle just a couple of years ago, and I didn't realize it until I pulled myself out of that. And it can do a lot of damage to you. It did a lot of bad things to me. Some of you know I had a car crash that year. It just wasn't like a good mental health year for me, I'll put it that way. And it wasn't until I really figured this out for myself. And I'm not one of those woo-woo kind of people that's all about manifestation and mindset and all that stuff. But I tell you what, every day I fly a little bit closer to the sun in that regard, because I was such a skeptic my whole life about this stuff. And I was like, mindset and attitude, yeah, whatever. It's obviously it matters, but it's not that important. Like, it really just matters what actions you take. But then the actions you take are dictated by your mindset and attitude and all this stuff. So it is important, and I hope that this lands for some people and maybe ignites a fire in you that encourages you to really have a look at things and maybe make some adjustments and changes. It doesn't have to be anything drastic, but you really are a product of the environment you're in. And that's not just the people you're with, but where you are physically, like the surrounding physical environment, the landscape, the house you're in. Like, you might need to move out. Like, that could be the thing that's really going to swing the pendulum for you. When I moved out of my grandparents' place, I just 10x my business. Like, I was just in a better environment by myself. I thrive when I'm alone, when I don't have distractions and just things going on around me. That's just my comfort zone. Well, I shouldn't say comfort zone, because comfort zone is where, you get comfortable and you don't have growth, but that's where I felt comfortable in order to grow. And look, this isn't going to matter that much to you if you don't care about growing an extraordinary business. If you're happy with how things are, things are okay, like you earn good money and things are just good, like you probably don't care about this stuff. It's probably not that important to you. But if you really want to do well in life and in business, like extraordinarily well, like 1% well, then this is where it all begins. I'm not just saying stuff I read in a book or, saying the latest new trending buzzword that's from TikTok or Instagram. Like, this is my own experience. I had a massive shift in my life this year and last year from just changing my environment and changing the people that I surround myself with, and having more definitive thinking for myself and breaking myself out of negative cycles and negative hypnotic rhythm that I didn't even know that I was in. And, I had to outgrow some friendships, I had to outgrow some circles, and I had to put myself in some new ones that were better for me. And when I removed myself from, these low standard environments and these low standard friend groups and changed it for the inverse, things got better for me. And I'm a lot happier. I'm a lot more full of energy. I have a lot less stress, and I have a lot more ambition and drive for the road ahead, which is one of the hardest things in business, is just to have the drive to be able to do the thing, because a lot of us know what we need to do. We just lack the discipline and the ambition and the attitude that it takes to get there. So that's half the job. If you can get that, then, the rest kind of falls into place inevitably. So look, you may need to, do a little bit of a life audit and think about how you need to reallocate your energy to certain people and to certain things and certain places. And maybe it just requires a few adjustments for the better. Maybe you need to really have a good hard look at yourself and be like, I'm not happy with where I'm at and I need some big changes. Otherwise, I'm going to be dragged further and further into this negative cycle, and I'm not going to get what I want out of life, and I'm not going to get what I want out of my business, and I'm not going to get anywhere. So maybe it's that, maybe it's the former. Either way, I think a lot of people can benefit from a simple change in environment once in a while, going to networking events, spending or increasing time with people who are building something, have ambition, take action, hold themselves to high standards, and inspire you to be better. Because some people aren't bad for you, they're just not good for who you're becoming. I'm going to say that again. Some people aren't bad for you, they're just not good for who you're trying to become, right? So it can be a tough pill to swallow, and for some people this may really hit home, but it's a good exercise in life and in business. So hey, it might be time to get a little more intentional about your circle and get out there and, put yourself out of your comfort zone and meet cool people that are doing cool things that inspire you and uplift you and make you want to do better. Maybe it's time to do that and just put yourself in more rooms where those people are more likely to be. Go to industry events, join more online communities in the cleaning space, in the business space, and health and wellness and well-being. Talk to people at the gym, talk to people in business groups, get a mentor, listen to more podcasts and read more books. Like even passive influence helps. You've got active influence and passive influence. Passive influence can come in the form of reading a book, listening to a podcast, listening to music. All these things program your subconscious to think better, act better, and be better. Or the inverse. And it may pay to have a little bit of an audit of your circle and the environment you're in. Who drains you? Who lifts you? Who do I need to limit my exposure to, or what things do I need to limit my exposure to, whether it be partying or drinking or going out to eat if you're being financially irresponsible. It doesn't have to just be people. It can be habits too. And then what do you need to increase your exposure to? What places do you need to put yourself in more? What people do you think you want to be talking to more? What habits do you need to be consistently doing more so that they become second nature and you get that hypnotic rhythm in a more positive, reinforced sense? And then, upgrade your inputs. Listen to more podcasts. Get a mentor, read more books, do more of the stuff that is going to be fulfilling you and getting you to where you want to be. Do more marketing in your business. Do more outreach. Talk to more people. Get more sales conversations. And then observe energy after spending time with someone. How does that make you feel? Does it make you feel better? Does it make you feel worse? Once you've, done something new in your business, observe the energy. How does it make you feel? How does it make you feel when you go out on the weekend and, you have a pretty big night, right? How does that make you feel? And then observe that energy. And then based on those inputs, set boundaries and create parameters and metrics for yourself so that you can reverse engineer the life that you actually want. And you can create KPIs in your own life that you can be in alignment with and consistently hit so that you can be high energy, low stress, high motivation, high ambition, and all the positive stuff, all the positive markers of health and business rather than the opposite, which is where a lot of people are. And yeah, if you haven't read the book Outwitting the Devil, it's a pretty good book. It's very abstract, it's very different, but the principles are very, very good in it. 98% of people in the world are drifters. They don't know what they're doing, they don't know what their purpose is, and they're dragged into this rhythm of just negative cycles after negative cycle. And if you can be the 2% that have definitive purpose and really can be free thinkers and know what they want out of life, you will achieve that. You will achieve exactly what you set out to achieve as long as you live within those parameters of life. So yeah, there was a look, I'm not an expert on this topic. I'm just brain dumping here, and it's the thing that I thought of first when I was like, what do I want to speak about on my podcast today? So hope that landed for you in some way. I hope that was valuable to at least one person, which is my only goal for any episode, is that it just is valuable to someone. There's some nugget that you can get out of it, and maybe that gives you the motivation or encouragement to make a change in your life for the better, and inadvertently or directly, that it makes a big impact positively in your business as well, because that's what this is all about. So yeah, with that being said, your circle, it's not a coincidence, it's a decision. And the things you do in your life, the habits you have, everything, it all circles back to your environment and the attitude you have and the conditioning that you're putting yourself through by proxy of the people that you hang with, the places that you're going, and just where you're at. So if you want to grow your business, your income, your mindset, your discipline, start by upgrading your environment, because nature is very cold and it's very unforgiving, and even more so in human nature. So with that being said, thanks for listening to another episode of Self-Made. The next one is the big one, the big 100. So excited for the guest, Mal Emery, just incredible, really keen for it. Make sure you ask your questions. And at the time of recording this, it is the second week of December. So we're almost at Christmas, which is exciting. So happy holidays if you're listening to this at the time of recording or around that time. Hope you have a great end to your year. And going into next year, 2026, I can't believe I'm even saying that. It sounds so weird to say we're going into the year 2026. Does anyone else feel that way? It just feels like weirdly dystopian that we're in a year like that. Anyway, I feel like I'm living in a Black Mirror episode, especially with the way the world's going and the stuff that's happening. So, but anyway, next year, it's a new year, clean slate. So 2026 should be all about being intentional, surrounding yourself with better people that make you level up, not level down, and creating a better environment for yourself so that you can thrive in life and in business. So thanks for listening to another episode of Self-Made. Can't wait to see you in episode 100. It's been a wild ride. If you've listened to all of the episodes up until now, you're a real one. I appreciate you. Love you. Thank you so much for listening, and talk soon. Bye.